everybody. With August being Women's Month, we've invited Elke Brink to share some valuable insights on women and finance. Welcome, Elke.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Elke, in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges women face when it comes to building a financial portfolio and planning for retirement?
Eureka, I think there are a few aspects that make women unique when it comes to building their financial portfolio, and there's a few unique aspects we really need to plan for compared to perhaps your partner's portfolio. And I think one of the first challenges that we still face, unfortunately, in the world, in most occupations, women do still earn less than men. So you still need to make the financial contribution to whatever your personal financial goals are, but you have a little bit less to work with. So I would say that's the first challenge, and combining that with, in many cases, women spend less time in the workforce. Should it be that you decide you would want to have a family or you do want to raise kids, there will be breaks in employment due to maternity leave, and then together with that, raising a family afterwards. So having less payment and less time in the workforce, but having the same financial outcome or the same financial goals with time is a bit of a constraint. And the last aspect, and we'll go into more detail about that, but something I guess we all tend to forget to address is the case of longevity. So women live longer than men. The average expectation is around 4 to 5 years, and that of course adds to one of the components we need to take into consideration when planning, and that's the time frame we're planning for. So we have a few more years in retirement that we need to financially plan for.
Elke, you just mentioned longevity. That's quite an important aspect to address. And how do you plan for this, and why don't people plan for this?
Yeah, Chantal, I think longevity is something I think a lot of women are maybe not even aware of, and it's an interesting statistic. It is interesting that women live a few years longer than men, and what the ultimate outcome is. Even at the moment, women are currently managing 40% of global wealth, which is actually quite a high number or a high percentage for taking into account exactly what we just spoke about. Women are working a short amount of time in the workforce or spending less time in the workforce and earning less, and we're almost managing half of the global wealth. So what essentially happens eventually is that because we are living longer, we end up managing the family's wealth. So you would either inherit your husband's financial portfolio, or should it be your own portfolio combined, but in most cases the women of the household would end up managing the family wealth. And I think that's quite important, because I think in so many different scenarios household duties are divided, which I find very normal and required to be able to get through a day. But I do think women need to take the responsibility of really also stepping into the responsibility of understanding what is being planned for and what exactly is going on in the financial portfolio of the family, and not only managing your own portfolio, but also understanding what the bigger picture is in your partnership and for your children, and knowing the responsibility will ultimately come to possibly manage this.
That's very true, Elke. I actually didn't think about it like that, and it's something to make you think at night. Maybe sleepless nights, but definitely something to think about.
Yes, definitely.
Elke, in your experience as a wealth advisor, do you find that women are more risk adverse when it comes to investing?
Eureka, I believe so, but I think it has a positive outcome. And I think it's actually one of the interesting topics in the investment space, is that women actually tend to be better investors by nature than men. So a few of the positive aspects of women not actually only applies to trading. There's actually quite a few interesting facts when it comes to women in the workplace in general that have been noted in the past few years. So one of the interesting things in the US is that women currently only make up 50% of the Fortune 500 workforce, but only 4% of them hold CEO spots. But something that was definitely noted in the past few years, should a company ever go through a period that they are struggling to perform well, should it be for multiple different reasons, they would actually appoint a woman CEO. So we are required now and then to come and fix some of the problems, as I guess we play many roles in not only our work lives, but also our personal lives. And there are a few other interesting aspects as well. So when it comes to boards basically serving a company, when it's a mixed gender board, they normally perform better than a male-only board in a company. It's also quite interesting to note that women-led hedge funds perform in line or exceed in performance those managed by men. And the Fortune 500 companies with the highest proportion of women perform better on average than firms with the lowest. So there was a study done including around 21,000 firms across 91 countries, and it was found that when a company went from having no female senior executives to having around 30% female representation, the net revenue went up by 15%. So I think we can definitely give ourselves a little bit more credit that there is definitely a space for including women in their workspace, and specifically in decision-making roles. It definitely has a noteworthy influence on the company.
And these are facts. This isn't just something that Elke Brink thumbs up. This is actual facts.
So Warwick Business School actually did a study on 2,800 UK men and women, and they had them manage a portfolio over a period of 3 years. And women actually outperformed not only the index, but they also outperformed men in all of these different circumstances. And what it basically came down to is that women traded less often. So women traded around 9 times, where men traded around 13 times. So it's having that ability to, I would say, manage your emotions while going through different cycles in the market, and being able to sit on your hands when it's needed to do so. And I think that's one of the greatest responsibilities when building a resilient portfolio, is sometimes not to do something in a difficult time, and women actually end up being better at that.
I wouldn't have believed that, to say, seeing that you said managing your emotions. That's not something women are strongest point for us.
Maybe we're better at that than we think. we need to give ourselves more credit.
Okay, so Elke, seeing that we are better at financial planning, what are the key aspects that we need to focus on to make sure that our financial planning is correct?
I think there are a few principles that applies to life in general, and I think when it comes to planning a portfolio, and especially looking at the portfolio of your household, communication is always key. So my recommendation firstly is normally to have a financial advisor involved, more for the reason that I think it takes a lot of the difficult conversations out of your partnership or out of your household. So having that objective opinion and the person asking the difficult questions. So planning not only your financial portfolios, but also your risk planning. Is there enough life cover should someone pass away? Is there enough cover should someone become ill or disabled? Do you have an updated will in place? And what happens if a divorce should happen? So I think it's just a much easier conversation if you have a third party there. Then my recommendation would be to have a sit down and have this communication within your household. So not only discussing your own portfolio and ensuring your personal planning is sufficient, taking into account the aspects we have referred to, longevity, less time in the workforce, perhaps earning less money, and knowing that your goals will look different for retirement and for emergency funding than perhaps your partner's goals. So not only looking at your own portfolio, but also discussing and understanding what your partner has in place. I think a lot of misunderstandings unfortunately happen if you assume there is sufficient cover in place in your household and there ends up not being. So I would recommend really understanding what planning there is and having an open conversation about it and taking the steps to put it in place if it's not there yet.
That makes a lot of sense, seeing that you say bring in a third party to ask those difficult questions, because that's not something that you'll ask your partner. Maybe not in all relationships that you'll ask your partner, but especially if there's a third party like a financial planner and they start the conversation with those difficult questions, I think that already starts a conversation between the two of you as a partner in your household. What do we need to look at? Do we have everything in place? Do you have enough shoes, or should you maybe save a little bit more on the shoes going forward? So I think those are a couple of things definitely that we can take out of this conversation. Sit down with your partner, get a financial planner, and know what the facts are. we are better at investing, and there's longevity. So that we need to know we are going to live longer, so plan for yourself as well and not just leg everything over to your partner in the household.
Yes, definitely.
I think it's also important to have that professional there to make sure that you actually do tick all the boxes.
Yes.
Because we all think, we've consulted Google and who knows everything, and it's not always the case. So to have somebody that has the background, that has that experience in it, to actually tick all the boxes and make sure that we have asked all the difficult questions.
Yes, definitely. I think we're all running really busy lives and juggling a lot of balls at once, and I think it's just the easier way to have to sit down and really ensure you are addressing everything. And if it's done right from the start and you are not only planning sufficiently in your financial portfolio but having all the risk components in place as well, it's really something you can relax about and at least remove one stressor in your life.
Elke, thank you so much for your valuable time today. We really know you are busy, but you've shared so many valuable insights with us today about women and finance and all of these facts that we didn't know. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to just celebrate women this month.